Good morning. Today is Moses chapter 1 verses 11 through 20. Because I started my goals yesterday, all of my Come Follow Me reading is done in the morning, which I think might help me, come across better to you guys, instead of at night, the night before. Anyways, okay, so let's get into it. 11 through 20. Yes, I've got all my books out. But anyways, so first things first. In these verses, Satan comes to tempt Moses. So in the first 10 verses, Moses has been with God. In these 10 verses, in these 10 verses, he's now with Satan. Satan has come to tempt and worship him. So, I've got some questions, I've got some inspiring words, and there are truths in there, but I didn't want to highlight them because, the whole thing is truth. I don't know. We're coming along. We're seeing how this works. But anyways, the first one, questions. Verse 13. And it came to pass that Moses looked upon Satan and said, Who art thou? For behold, I am a son of God, in the similitude of his only begotten, and where is thy glory, that I should worship thee? And for me, the questions here is, who is Satan? What has he done for me? Why do I give him any attention? Why do I give him any of my, in these words I used worship, but, when, the concept is, when you're not serving Christ, you're serving Satan. When you're not worshiping Christ, you're worshiping Satan. So the questions here are, who is Satan? What has he done for me? Why do I, worship him? Why do I give him any of my time or attention? And, that's in my notebook, a thought-provoking question here. And then some inspiring words, verse 16, Get thee hence, Satan, deceive me not, for God said unto me, Thou art after the similitude of mine only begotten. This one I underlined, the Get thee hence, Satan, deceive me not. In my preparations or study about prayer, whenever somebody in a general conference talk says you should pray for this, I like to write that down so that I may pray for it later. And one of the things that they sometimes say to pray for is not to be not tempted by Satan, but to, the words are gone. Anyways, you get what I'm saying, right? You get what I'm saying. Deceive me not, to not be deceived. There we go. And my prayer word for this week is knowledge. And this one kind of ties into that because it's like, how do you get deceived? It's by not having light and truth. If you don't have the knowledge of being an only begotten Son of God, you can be deceived. Another inspiring word in verse 18. And again Moses said, I will not cease to call upon God. I have other things to inquire of him. For his glory has been upon me, wherefore I can judge between him and thee. Depart hence, Satan. And the inspiring words here is, I will not cease to call upon God. I have other things to inquire of him. This one is going under my prayers, right there. I have other things to inquire of him. I have things that I want to know. Again, with my seeking knowledge, or this week, there are things I want to know. There's a knowledge that I want to have, and I know that there's knowledge that he wants me to have, and so that ties in right along with it. So we've got our two books here, which are redundant, but I like the two things that it brings. Anyways, with the side-by-side companion, we've got it highlighted 2 verses, 15 and 20, which are the good verses. Verse 15, it talks about how Moses knows who he is because he was just with God, and he stands strong in the face of Satan. And they ask, what is the level of our spiritual vitality in the face of temptation and opposition? And that's just, food for thought. What is my spiritual vitality when I'm standing face to face with temptation or opposition? And they go on to say, Moses was righteous, and righteousness binds Satan. We too can choose righteousness. Just a little formula there. What is my spiritual vitality in the face of opposition and temptation? If I am righteous, I can bind Satan. So then it talks about the gift of God called agency gives us the power to choose. For the gift of agency to work, there must be 1, eternal laws, 2, knowledge of good and evil, 3, opposition in all things, 4, power to choose, and 5, consequences to our choices here and in the hereafter. Recognizing these elements of agency gives us perspective to choose righteousness, for it magnifies our spiritual strength in the face of opposition, and it leads to happiness in eternal life. Now, when we think about difficult times in our lives or things like that, we think of things that are brought upon by somebody else, or, a loved one dying, Satan tempting us with, drugs, alcohol, immorality, that sort of thing. When in actuality, opposition in all things is just like a kind of crabby coworker that day, or, your boss giving you an assignment that isn't your job. And here he's saying that you have the choice to react, and there are consequences to that reaction. And it brings blessings or condemnation here or in the hereafter. It's not a new concept to me, but it's kind of highlighting the fact that there has to be opposition in all things for agency to work. And it's not just this, life is going to be grand and, Disney princess is, just this hunky-dory life. No. It's meant to be hard. And your reaction to those hard situations is what you're being judged on. Do you complain nonstop about this person did this and that person did that and blah, 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 so on and so forth? So I'm really enjoying this study this morning. Okay, then we move on to 20, which verse 20 is such a good verse, but I didn't highlight it at all, mainly because it went under all of the categories, and so I was just like, I don't know which one to put it under, but it was a beautiful verse. And it came to pass that Moses began to fear exceedingly, and as he began to fear, he saw the bitterness of hell. Nevertheless, calling upon God, he received strength, and he commanded, saying, Depart from me, Satan, for this one God will I worship, which is the God of glory. Okay. And they're talking about courage through prayer and priesthood power. Fear is so destructive if we do not confront it with positive action. We must have faith in God, perfect love, preparation, knowledge, experience to build confidence, and above all, we must pray to God always. We see the pattern for overcoming fear in our lives. The prayer of faith and the power of God unite to dispel fear and replace it with confidence, hope, and a feeling of strength and courage. It's easy to become fearful in this world, and how could you not be scared in the face of Satan? I don't know how, but to overcome, and that's how we do it. Okay, so to the commentary, We did the 5 moments of supernal truth. The nature of God, humility, and now we're in the spiritual strength in the face of opposition. So they give a quote from Elder Holland. A life without problems or limitations or challenges, a life without opposition in all things, as Lehi phrased it, would paradoxically, but in very fact, be less rewarding and ennobling than one which comforts, even frequently, would paradoxically, but in very fact, be less rewarding and ennobling than one which confronts, even frequently confronts, difficulty and disappointment and sorrow. As beloved Eve said, were it not for the difficulties faced in a fallen world, neither she nor Adam nor any of the rest of us ever would have known the joy of our redemption and the eternal life which God giveth unto all the obedient. So life has its oppositions and its conflicts, and the gospel of Jesus Christ has answers and assurances. Jeffrey. It's Jeffrey. We love him. The fact that he says frequently confronts difficulty and disappointment and sorrow. Frequently. Like the title of the Sherry Du book, If Life Were Easy, Then It Wouldn't Be Hard. You're like, what does that even mean? But in the context of this, I think we understand what it means and why it is important to face life with a positive attitude, a cheery disposition, and meet challenges head on. With a sourpuss attitude or blaming everybody for our circumstances, those are written in our book of life. Here's how she handled this test and trial. All right, that's all I have. Moses chapter 1 verses 11 through 20. I gotta go to work. Love you all.